Hey, what's up, guys? Little man with a big opinion here. So, I've got family coming up this weekend. Um, Dad's talking about wanting to shoot some new toys that he's gotten that he hasn't got to shoot yet. Brother's in town. I recently moved my handicapped cousin up here with me, and he's talked about for years wanting to get his license to carry. I've got mine. Brother's got his. You know, I have been shooting for a very long time. Um, it's kind of a impromptu visit, so I'm throwing together some targets. I'll make a video on how I make a $7 target tomorrow because they told me Wednesday they're showing up. Did a bunch of house cleaning today. Um, got the dishwasher um, outlet fixed. Um, but I stopped by Academy. I picked up. I had never seen the Academy brand in the 9mm NATO. It's a whopping 9 grains heavier than your standard 115 FMJ. It was the cheapest, the second cheapest per round. I almost got the steel case stuff. I still might go back and get some of that. I've noticed that when I put them inside an ammo can that's got a like a vapor seal on it or a moisture barrier, I don't run into any issues, and I'd rather get more bullets for my bang and deal with cleaning a dirty gun later. Uh, you don't need to be in the video. Um, but your typical, range day shouldn't just be I set up a couple of, stationary paper targets, I stand in this spot and shoot at it. Every once in a while, that's okay. It's fun to shoot firearms. You know, brother, cousin, dad, the four of us, we're gonna have fun. Um, but if you are trying to get your best bang for your buck, and this kind of goes into the prepping side, it kind of goes into the Minuteman side. It's definitely for anyone that wants to practice self-defense. um, I'm mostly focusing on shooting what I can still carry every day, which is my 365 X macro. um, I have 3 magazines for this gun. I would like to have more. um, it came with the two uh, 17 as their standard. Um, One of them I've got my Hornady critical defense in, and the other one I put FMJ in it. The problem is they're $50 a piece. Um, and then I do carry a second magazine with me, not the 17 that I have. I spent the extra $10 and got the 21 round magazine, and I carry it. I always have to look at this with a Neomag clip. It's just a magnetic clip that I slide into my pocket. It looks like I'm carrying another pocket knife. I can slide this up, and it goes fairly deep in my pocket, and it's stuck to my pocket. Slides right off. Uh, but if I'm trying to do this relatively cheap, obviously in the perfect world, I would go out with hundreds of rounds and spend the entire day and have tons of fun. That's the Minuteman side of this, where the more and more training I get in, I'll take the one out. The more and more training, it's better. Um, I would rather shoot a bunch of 9mm ammo because this is what's going to protect me, 9 times out of 10, because it's what's carried with me every single day. So this is what I want to be the most familiar with. Not my AR, not a shotgun, not my hunting rifle, except getting close to deer season time, so I want to be somewhat proficient with it. But I don't want to break the bank. 9mm isn't the most expensive handgun ammo. I looked at getting my dad a box of 357 for the revolver that he carries. Um, 50 rounds was like $36.99. The 38 special was cheaper. This 100 round box of 9mm was $23.99, $24.99. I don't remember, and I already threw the receipt away. But that's important to know because it's a relatively cheap ammo. I'm not just going to sit here and just shoot through all 17 rounds. What is probably going to happen is, I'm making, I think it's the standard B27, silhouette target, 18 inches by 30 inches. I don't remember the rest of the dimensions. I'm cutting them out of cardboard boxes that I have. I plan on shooting 5 to 10 rounds, between 3, 5, 7, and maybe 15 yards. Maybe not 5 to 10, maybe 3 to 5. Slow, controlled. I'm going to make sure I'm lining up my sight picture. I'm going to make sure when my finger's on the trigger, I'm getting a nice, good squeeze. I'm not, putting it, over too far to the left or the right. I am making sure I have a good grouping at those different distances. I haven't gotten a red dot for this yet. I don't know when that's going to happen because they're kind of expensive. But I would adjust even after that, putting a red dot on here. But for now, I need to be very comfortable with, am I shooting a little to the left? Am I shooting a little to the right? At this distance or that distance. You want it to become second nature. So let's say I was doing 5 rounds at those 5 distances. That's already 25% of the ammo that I purchased. The next thing that I would want to do, I appendix carry, is, I'm going to have it tucked into my waistband. I'm going to have my shirt covering it because I can still carry. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I want to go through the motions of, lifting my shirt, hand on firearm, unholstering it, getting on my target, and shooting twice. Going to a low ready, and depending on the distance with cardboard, you'll know what you're hitting. I could go fancy with the targets and make something that makes it easier to see. The further back you go, you're going to want to, go up, look at it. I've got like 6 different colored markers that I'm going to take out with me. Because I think I'm only going to make about 10 or 15 cardboard silhouettes. That way we can mark where we're shooting. You do that a handful of times. Let's say you do it 5 times. That's 10 more rounds. That's 10% of the ammo that was planning on being expended. The first 2, maybe 3 times, you're still focusing on that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I don't have a shot clock. I might have, someone start timing me on their phone. We'll see how that... It's not the most accurate thing in the world. But once you've gone through a few of the crawls, then you're going to go into walk and run. And you're focusing on a faster draw time and, time on target. From there, you can practice reloads. So I keep my spare magazine in my left pocket. There has been, I've done it a couple times actually, where how I have it positioned in my pocket, I want it facing this way. So when I pull it out and I'm, releasing the first magazine, got it turned, it's already facing the correct direction. There's been a couple times where I have, repositioned it. I pull it out, bullets don't go in backwards. It won't even go that much further into the firearm. It's good practice because I do this, I'm in the middle of a reload, now I'm, turning my hand all funky to make it happen. So making, that's starting the day right by positioning it the correct way on the clip. So doing a handful of reload drills. I mostly went with this firearm because I have tiny hands. It fits well in my hand. I've got a Glock 40 that I absolutely hate. That's what I'm having my cousin shoot, and he's got bigger hands. It works better for him. The nice thing about this, and you can be the old FUD, I have 17 rounds of 9mm, technically 18, because I carry, one in the chamber. I like shooting 1911s, more stopping power, more old school, one World Wars. I have 18 chances to protect my life, plus an extra 21. I'm not super paranoid where I've got, I have the 3 magazines for this firearm. I don't have a second one of these clips, so I don't carry the 3rd magazine. I'm not that freaked out. Does it say in the car? Yeah, I'll stick it in the center console. So I've got it there. It's available. In my get home bag, I've got, maybe another. I have one. I don't remember if it's 20 or 25 to the box of more critical defense ammunition. So reloads, they're important. Maybe not so much on the, self-defense prepper side, but if you think about this from a Minuteman perspective, reload drills are very important. I don't own a battle belt, so I don't have a, out-of-the-waist holster and, 6 magazines on it with an IFAK and all that other stuff. If you do have that, and you're more on the Minuteman side of things, train that way. It makes sense. Do what you got to do. And then from there, the running phase, which I really liked the captain that I had, in the Army. He, after we did our standard rifle qual, he would make us do like 100-meter sprints and like 10 burpees, get the heart rate elevated. And then, hey, you're going to shoot 5 shots from the prone position. Makes you do a bunch of jumping jacks, some more burpees, air squats, whatever. You're shooting 5 times from standing. So getting your heart rate up to simulate, being in whatever situation, that's, the most intense that you can get. Setting up your targets, and this is, kind of preparing you for competition shooting in a way, setting the boxes where you're going to shoot 5 rounds in this box at this target that is 5 yards away. Then you're going to run 15 yards over here, shoot 2 more shots, reload, and then shoot 3 into this target, and then 5 more into this one over here. That is simulating, a self-defense situation, a firefight situation, whatever you want to call it. Even as simple as, I've seen people take a recliner to, it's a private shooting range or it's their own. They're relaxing in the recliner, just talking with their buddies, and someone in the background randomly says, "Threat, threat, threat." And they have to engage it from sitting in the recliner. A very, very simple thing, which would work great for the mobile. The targets I'm making, they're out of 2x4s. Is very simply turning around, having whoever's with you set them up in a different spot. They call threat, threat, threat. You turn around. Hopefully you're unholstered by the time you've turned around. They call out left or right or center, and that's the target you engage. They've predetermined the distance that they're setting it at. You can get more elaborate. You can have moving targets. You can have, the dueling, I think it's the dueling Texas Star. You can make this very, very fun. It is way more entertaining than everyone's lined up. There's a target, set at 5, 10, 20 yards, or even an indoor shooting range where you've got your one lane and you set it at wherever you want to set it. And then you stand in the one spot and you shoot at your, paper target 7 or 8 times. You bring it in. Hey, that's a nice grouping. Oh, that one's off. I'm an ace shooter. You send it back out. You do that, for half an hour or till you burn through the ammo that you wanted to burn through. And then you pack up and you call it a day, and you tell yourself, yep, I'm prepared for whatever bad situation happens. I'll be able to defend myself and my family. That shouldn't how you should be doing this. You should train how you're going to fight. I love the joke of you shouldn't drink and shoot firearms, and then someone says, train how you fight. Don't do that. Obviously the worst case scenario is you're having a party at your house and you got to do something. So, I don't want to think about that. But you can make 100 rounds go a long way. Train as much as you can with the budget that you have. My brother has probably a few thousand more rounds through his 365 than me. Because there for a while, he was going every single week, shooting 3 to 5 magazines each time he went out. So there is a fine balance between I want to be efficient and I want to, stack up thousands of rounds for, the problem that's going to arise. Like I specifically bought this 100 rounds to go through it. I'm going to bring a lot more of my ammo out just in case. I know other people have the same caliber, which is nice, so maybe I won't go through this. The bonus for this is, I carry Hornady Critical Defense in the gun. I want to shoot, at least 1 magazine's worth of, what I carry with me, because every ammo is going to shoot a little bit differently. So, that's something that I'd say that's a once a month kind of thing. You're going to blow through, $20 to $50 worth of ammo, depending on what, you carry. It's also important because, like, the top round, this one's been in here a while. It's been cycled out several times. So it probably needs a break. I'll at least shoot the 1 round and replace it. But we're going to load back up. Now we got to go put one more back in it. So I didn't have my 17 plus 1, which means the last time I did that, I guess I put it in my pocket or something. But, we're ready. We're back to go. Your last bonus tip. When we're done at the range, even before I leave, I'm going to make sure that I have reset my, concealed carry firearm. I have seen plenty of people get robbed, hurt, died because they went to the range with their concealed carry firearm or their gun or their car gun or whatever. They've spent all day shooting at the range. You get to the end where you're just, you're not keeping stuff organized. All your magazines are going back in this bag. You've thrown the empty boxes out. This ammo's loose and you still had 15 rounds of it, so it gets tossed in the bag. You're still a good, responsible gun owner that you plan on cleaning the gun when you get home so it doesn't just get packed up dirty. And between the range and your vehicle, something bad happens. And, you're stuck with however strong you are, whatever other things you have, pocket knife or whatever. And, don't be stuck in that situation. Reset your daily carry. But all that being said, I will post some shooting footage from this weekend. It might come the same day. It might be on Sunday. At the time of recording this video, maybe the Cowboys will win. The game got delayed. Haven't been keeping up with it since then. But subscribe to the channel if you yourself enjoy this stuff. Share it with a friend or family member that you think would benefit from these videos. Leave all your comments down below. Questions, good, bad advice. I read them. There's not a lot of us here. Not yet, anyway. So let's help the channel grow, and I'll catch you on the next one.